And this will be able to pull it up later.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Too much technology. Okay. So I figure we'll just start out with what our plan is. Donna and I will. So I did make this mock-up of the lots that will be over there. There'll be 8 lots. It's R1. So everyone is kind of confused about all this. So it's owned by the development board currently. But the city is going to hold the TIF. And then we're gonna work with the development board on them selling the lots and getting the houses built on them.
So this would be similar, just hiring Joe Blow as a developer. Development board will be
It's a little
responsible.
different,
Well,
because they're a nonprofit, you can't have a private, you have to give them the land.
give who?
It's not like having, if the land, if the land has owned, it has to be owned by a nonprofit for that to work for you.
Right, the development board.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, yeah. But
Yeah, not the city.
You couldn't just say, Todd, we're gonna give you this land to develop, because I'm not a nonprofit.
Right.
That's what I was saying.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, so, when we got ready to vote at the last meeting, it was questioned. The idea is we want to develop the 8 lots, but then there will be other lots part of the TIF. And we're just asking for some clarification, because if we want to make sure we understand, so that if we get questioned by anyone in town, we need to be able to explain it properly as well. So we asked that we have this special meeting to provide this information. So to do that, we have Quinn, who will help explain things properly.
And he'll kind of explain who Toby is and.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, you have the floor.
alrighty. Well, I'm Quinn Reimers. I'm with Collier Securities. Our office is in Pierre. Toby, he's got a laundry list of family health issues right now, so he couldn't come today. So, we're municipal advisors here in Pierre, and over the last 5 years, we've really stepped up the TIF. We've written a lot of TIFs over the last 5 years. So many communities are starting to use them, big and small, for a variety of different reasons. Would you want me to get into like what a TIF is and kind of stop and we'll ask some questions about that?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay. A TIF is, especially this one, it's an economic development tool for whether it's a city or a county. Oftentimes there's a developer involved. This one, not so much. A TIF is, you take the property taxes from the set buildings that are developed on that property. Being that this is 8 homes, the homeowners would pay their property taxes like anybody else. Those property taxes would then go to the county. The county would dish them out to the city, and the city would then repay a loan or whatever it may be. And if there's a developer, the city would then transfer that over to the developer. There's a few different kinds of TIFs. There's affordable housing, which this one would be. That's where the price of the home can't be more than $410,000, and that's just this year. Last year it was $385,000, and the year before it was a little less, and it just continues to grow. Unfortunately, I know everyone says 410s, that's affordable. Well, that's just the nature of the beast over there with South Dakota housing and, you know, interest rates the way that they are. It's a big number. So in other, you know, classifications or economic development, that's when, you know, you have a commercial piece like a truck stop or anything like that, and then you can put houses in there as well, and that's where the houses don't have a price cap at that 410. There's industrial for obvious industrial development, and then there's a local TIF. The first three, affordable, economic, and industrial, hold the school harmless. Any lost growth or growth is offset by the state's education formula. When you do a local TIF, the taxes are put on the local school district. So if you were to do it in the peer school district, everyone within that peer school district has an additional levy on top of their taxes. So when everyone asks, are you raising taxes? When a TIF comes into the conversation, well, that depends. Are we doing an affordable housing TIF? The answer is no. Economic development and industrial? The answer is no. But when you start doing the local TIFs, the answer is yes. And a local TIF is where, you know, someone wants to do a housing development and on a golf course where they're putting up $1 million homes. They don't have to worry about the price caps on those. They're a lot more questionable in the eyes of the public, and rightfully so. Some of them are for certainly good use. I mean, cities and counties use them for a variety of different reasons, but you just got to be careful with those ones. You know, the TIF, I guess from there, I guess I'll just stop and see if there's any questions. We can go as deep as you'd like to into the TIFs, and I'll just open up for questions from there. I can go further for sure.
So just to clarify, we're writing this as an affordable housing TIF with that price cap on the homes, so there won't be an effect to school district with the TIF that we're going for.
Absolutely, the school district's held harmless. It's an affordable housing TIF. It's just a true blue affordable housing TIF. There's no way around that. So,
Just clarify.
Yeah.
What are the price of the lots gonna be?
So he asked what the price of the lots are gonna be. That's gonna be the development board. I don't know if you wanna talk a little bit, but I mean, the last TIF that he did, it was kind of like, if you get built within 2 years, like I think they paid, like, was it 12? Or 10,000?
Right.
And then if you get built in 2 years, then you get it back, or like they discussed giving half of it back.
Right.
So,
Yeah, the development board, Morgan, would you want to speak up to this as far as the development board's mission as far as looking to make profit versus looking to just get homes built?
Yeah, our goal is just to get homes built. So we had talked about potentially doing the model of charging a certain fee, whether that be $5,000 or $10,000, but then essentially as long as a home is built within a certain time period, then we would give that money back. That's an option that we talked about, but basically our goal is to make it as affordable as possible. So potentially either doing it free or at least having people put money on the table so they're not just gonna sit on the lot and build, and they can get that money back.
without,
And the money goes back to the homeowner or back to the TIF, or where does it go back to?
To
Development.
whoever bought the lot.
Okay.
no, that's okay.
Yeah, so essentially
Thank
it's
you.
free lots, but just putting a little bit of skin in the game, so it's not just everyone signing up and then sitting on them. So
Mhm.
having a little bit of incentive
Okay.
for them to get moving on it. Obviously, the sooner it's being built on, the better for the TIF purpose, to get property taxes paid back as soon as possible.
Okay.
But what
to
about
have
the people that
Wait,
already
What's
own
that?
lots and you're giving lots away? It don't make sense to me.
Sorry,
But
what
for
was that?
me, I'm paying taxes already. I paid tax for years on a lot of vacant lots.
So,
Well, I think for us, just getting houses is the main priority, so however we need to do that. And I think in the past, we have sold lots, what was that, like 20 years ago, trying to sell lots, and it took a long time to get those lots filled by selling the lots. So in the last development that we did, again, the goal was just to get houses as soon as possible. And so that was the engine that did it. Because of that TIF, we could do that. If the TIF wasn't able to happen, then we couldn't do that. And then we'd have to just wait and sit on it and see when people would buy lots, I guess.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
May I ask a question?
yeah, of course.
So in the event you sell these lots, is there a time restriction that you have to build within so many years? Or if I bought one today and I sat on it for 10 years before I retire and then come back and build, or what's the
Right.
condition of the sale?
Within 2 years.
You
Yeah,
have to build within 2.
that was what we did with the previous
And
lots.
failure to build within 2, then they have to sell it back to the
Right.
development corporation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I appreciate your question, Jerry. So back in July, before the all-school reunion, development board sent out letters to all the property
I
owners.
was here.
Right. So Morgan, those letters that were sent out to vacant lot owners, how many people took the development board up on the offer to try to help people sell their lots?
0.
Well, what kind of help you gonna offer? I mean, everybody knows I've got lots for sale.
Right.
How many people come to town asking? That's what I'd like to know.
Oh, I wish Brian was here to answer that.
I mean,
I know
we,
between Luke and Brian, they certainly talk about it. I guess I don't have a formal number.
right, like I know of a lot of people that have wanted to move back and there's nowhere to build. Or like, just last week, I think it was Mike Kellen came in to figure out empty lots. And he was looking at the Mel Nest lots on Fremont,
Oh,
but those are still tied up with the county.
right,
So,
Just kind of limited places.
right.
right. I know,
Um,
go ahead, sorry.
I'm just gonna throw an example out there. The city of Chamberlain did one just like this. They were trying to sell lots for, I think it was upwards of 30,000. And they came back to us and they said, well, no one's building on these things. We need someone to build on these lots to, get this TIF rolling. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we just told them, maybe it's an incentive to give the lots to them. Or, like again, $5,000 fee, and then it comes back to them. Because that tax increment to the TIF is a lot more valuable than the sale of the lots. In the grand scheme, especially when you're talking about 8 lots. It's not the first time this has been done. It's certainly something that's been done prior, and you're not the only community that would, it's not that you're trying to make a ton of money on it by any means. You're just not trying to lose a bunch either. And where someone might sit on all this, give you $5,000 and sit on the lot for 10 years. Well, that doesn't help against your loan or anything. So that's just a little input there. So.
Okay. Are there other questions about a TIF?
Not about the TIF, no.
Okay, it doesn't look like we have any more questions about a TIF.
Okay. I'll get into a little bit more into the TIF as well as the current TIF and then maybe the South Dakota housing loan and how the TIF revolves into a collateral. We've got expected costs between 806 and I think what was it, 5 and 800,000 for the infrastructure associated with the TIF in these homes. South Dakota Housing is they have a program out there. It's 2% interest on a 30-year project costs. We were able to use, because the city went out and did, street improvements outside of the development. South Dakota Housing Authority allows $25,000 per lot. So with 8 lots, that's 25,000. That's 200 grand. We used 16 lots within just that immediate area to improve that amount to 400 grand with a waiver on top of that. They allowed us to they're under the understanding that they're assuming that there's really only 8 lots, but the improvements and everything in the costs, we were able to use the 16 lots with a waiver to bring it to about 34,600 a lot. The current request at this point, we haven't fully requested or applied because we're in the conversation, is about 550,000. And then when that comes back to the TIF itself is probably at its most, and I have it right here, it's about 650,000 over the course of the life of its TIF. And I didn't touch on this, a TIF can really only go 20 years. So, and when you build a house, it's built, assessed, and then payable. So you're really looking at 17, 18 years maybe of increment. So it's 20 is the life, and you're really looking at 17 to 18 of true increment coming in. With that loan, and then we have a TIF, being that there's that 2 to 3 year window where we might not have increment in there, South Dakota Housing is allowing no payment for the first 2 years, and then it's just really beneficial for that loan itself it kind of revolves around a TIF. Most of those loans with South Dakota Housing have a TIF involved in there. That's how they kind of wrap the program around it. There is a risk for sure. I understand that there's a possibility these homes might not be built out as fast as we would like. We've also touched on the idea of, well, if there's a shortfall, the sales tax is unencumbered. It's not touched at this point, according to your audit. Ideally, we don't go down that road, but it's just an option, just in case things aren't going as well as we planned. It's one of those deals where, if we could say, hey, there's a developer involved and they're willing to do it, put $800,000 on the line for the project to succeed, that's a different story because the city has no liability. Well, here, the city is the applicant here, and the city, there is a little bit of liability, and the city's, this is how the cities are starting to do it. It's just, they realize this is how some of them are going to grow. There's a need for lots across the state, especially in the smaller towns. There's a real need for the lots. So I just wanted to stress that there is some the risks in there, especially when you're borrowing money, but we're trying to mitigate that as much as possible. It's not just hey, we're taking a loan out. There's a TIF involved. There's real sales tax. Your average sales tax every year is $250,000 over the last. It's ebb and flow, but if you average out the last 5-6 years, it's been about $250,000. So that shortfall it's not going to be so tremendous as if you didn't have sales tax as an option to fall back on. I'll just stop there. I know there's a lot of information. So is there any questions on that?
I'm sorry if I missed it while I was writing things down. Did you say what the expected annual payment would be?
On the loan?
Right. And maybe
yes,
you didn't say it, but
because I do have that.
okay.
We were anticipating anywhere between 48 and 50,000. Your sales tax alone. if this was just if you were to go out and do a bond on this, which you wouldn't do, you're a five coverage ratio, so your 250,000 covers it 5 times every year on average, if needed be, right? So it's one of those deals. Yeah, you're safe on the debt service for sure, but yeah, 50,000 is probably where you're looking at there. Any other questions? I know there's a ton there.
Question on
There's
the
no doubt
infrastructure,
We're talking about this.
streets,
Okay, we have a question about infrastructure.
are the streets part of this tip?
So, so Minden Avenue already has new water and sewer for
Right.
phase 1. And then Preston Avenue and Bowman are getting new services with phase 2B.
Okay, so that part of the infrastructure is already covered.
Right.
Okay, what about street development? Pavement, curb gutter, is that,
I can't remember
So-
if the 400 or the 800.
The 800 was the
Is it?
pitch.
yeah, it's
So-
part of the TIF?
Right, so, we should have had Cedric here. So my understanding, like where you live, I'm sorry, post, Amy, yes, thank you. My understanding, curb and gutter cannot go on your street because of flooding, drainage issues. Not that it couldn't be paved at some point, but it can't have gutters because of flow. But, yeah.
So it's gonna remain a dirt road?
I believe, I'd have to double check with Brian
That-
and Cedric, but,
It remains a dirt road, it needs better dirt.
right.
It turns into a slime pit every time it's, rains when it's not freezing.
People who buy homes and build on that street, if it's dirt, they're gonna be like us, carrying mud on their vehicles up on their driveways every single time. It's a mess.
And this is why.
I wouldn't build a house. I wouldn't buy a lot and build a house on a road that was gonna stay dirt.
Right.
You're gonna have a hard time selling them if people find out that Minden's not gonna get paid.
Right, ideally, yes, we would love to pave them. The expense of doing so, correct me if I'm wrong, by adding the cost of paving, that makes the TIF, like, we wouldn't take in enough tax dollars to cover the amount we would need to borrow, correct?
No, if you're talking that 800 number,
Yeah.
you're probably shy about 100 grand at
Right.
least.
Yeah,
And would that be a situation, like Brian and Doug have been talking, like how we did over there by like Oswog's between Park and Spring, where they just did a chunk there, and then their next plan is to move south of the highway.
right,
Is that something that we would maybe do then and just pave that, time
Right.
being, I don't know either.
Future plan.
Yeah.
right. We are budgeting the streets that are, especially our east-west streets, did not get touched with our $60 million water sewer project. So we are budgeting to address those east-west winds. So it is very feasible that in time, we will be able to pave those roads, but at the time of the project, no.
Yeah, but a lot of this money already is going from the water and sewer when they redid the road, right?
So most of this is going for the land prep because we have to build it up 3 feet because of how low it is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be 3 feet higher than the houses across the street.
So in other words, you're
No.
gonna haul dirt in there, you're what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Right.
Which I wouldn't want a new road if I'm gonna haul that much dirt in either.
I mean, that don't make sense to me, but,
Right, so
I
let's
mean, I
say,
never have seen water sitting out there.
right, unfortunately, having to use engineers to cover our hind ends, they did the flood study, water flow studies, and it shows that in the 100-year event, which we have every 10 to 15 years now, that is a flood concern. So,
To the west of there does flood.
right,
Oh, yeah, but like Shelby's there,
Yeah,
but that's the reason they put that damn big ditch in there.
right.
And during our phase 2B, you know, they're gonna be putting in a whole bunch of new culverts and making sure that it doesn't pool over there and getting it to go where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, they're supposed to lower that, if I'm right, the one that goes through our property.
Yeah.
right,
Right.
It'll get
That
lowered,
one,
so it
yeah.
drains, right?
yeah.
Does the developer who builds these have any responsibility for paving streets or paying for?
In some
Access?
bigger towns, yes, where, like in Brookings, you can sell a lot for $50,000 to $70,000. So the price of infrastructure and paving a road is built into the price of your lot. If we charged $50,000 a lot in Lake Preston, we would have a lot of empty lots. So unfortunately, we just don't have,
And of course, we would like them all paved.
of
I
course.
mean, you know, before all of the TIF talk and like developments and things, you know, like where Stacy Jenkins lives and Brian lives, they've had a gravel road for,
The whole time, obviously.
right,
It was like 20 plus years ago when that development started.
Who paved all the houses, the roads for the houses on Fifth and the townhomes? On Fifth
So,
where
Fourth-
Lucy's live and.
Fourth Street and
Fourth and Fifth.
and Manor. Fourth and Manor was in phase 2A. So with the state,
It was part of the water project.
Oh,
With
so did it
this-
have anything to do with the houses that were
no,
built
the
there?
only part that was covered in that TIF was the one block of Fifth.
The one that ends in the cornfield?
Yes.
Okay.
And then on the south end of Fremont, from Third to Fourth, that turned into pavement from dirt.
Yeah.
Down by Olson, Renee's.
Down by-
is paved.
Past your.
Yeah, by
Oh,
Pooh's
he's on
house.
city council.
Yeah.
Right. I believe because that used to be asphalt, there was curb there.
It's
No,
always
No,
been gravel.
There was no curve there, there was no
They didn't. do that.
evidence of any kind of previous pavement.
It's always been gravel.
Yeah.
So are there other TIF questions based on what he's talked about so
No.
far? Okay,
I really just touched the top of the TIF thing, you know, it's very, global. If we can get as deep as you like into the TIF world, but, I mean, you just let me know on that one.
I mean, honestly, I think my biggest concern, I wanted to make sure by adding the additional lots to the west, I wanted to make sure we were being transparent with the state that it is not our intention to develop those at this time. And you said we have a waiver and the state understands we are focusing on the 8 lots in red, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked to Chaz when he was reviewing it at Olson. He's the director, and he said it seems like you guys are. It looks like we're just mainly doing the main 8 lots here, and we were like, yes, what we're using is the 16 to get our loan amount up a little higher than that 200,000, and then so there is an understanding.
Okay.
Okay.
So what happens if you don't get these lots sold?
The city has to pay the payments of, he said between $48,000 and $50,000.
will you lower the price of the lot at some point to try to get rid of them, or?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like Morgan said, the development board has zero intention of,
Making money?
right, it is to bring in
To build house.
Yeah, new houses, new taxable income.
Move the lots.
We get people here, they're buying groceries, they're getting gas. So in turn, our sales tax,
School.
Yeah.
yes,
exactly. Bingo.
attending school. Yeah, and these are designated as single families slash, like, potentially, it could be duplex. It's not,
No apartments.
right,
Right.
we don't intend to have apartments in this
I
area.
think we have enough of those.
Yeah, right
Aren't
now.
built.
I think
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, so that is our intention with these lots. Good, Morgan?
Yeah,
I was
we've
just-
heard some need on, still wanting some more, kind of single level homes for folks that are transitioning, not quite to assisted living, but maybe out of some larger homes. And so our goal too is to have some of those, potentially here for folks, as well, whether that's in a duplex format or in a single family format.
And like if you look at the TIF that we already have, out of those 8 houses, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 very young people that either have kids or going to be having kids. Like during the beginning of the summer, I had heard from like Brian and Luke about all of these people that want to move back home, and they're not finding anywhere to build. So
Speaking of building, can they put manufactured homes on?
there's,
Ours is, and it's a really nice house. even though
Right,
it's a
right,
manufactured
there's
home.
specifics in our zoning, so.
So no?
Oh, no, we
Could.
didn't say that. Yeah, there are just guidelines that
Right,
we're in the process of
The manufactured
redoing all of
home
our
has to meet
zoning.
certain specifications.
Right,
right.
yeah,
Okay,
like trailer
Like a real-
houses,
Like a house.
right, like trailer houses have to be a certain age and
Yes.
a certain roof style, so similar to a modular home, they're just qualifications.
Makes sense.
It makes them more affordable, I think, too.
Does anyone have a question over anything that maybe he didn't explain? Okay.
And so
There are,
when
there are no dumb questions with this, by the way. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. You mentioned basically there's a waiver on the first 2 years for the city, so that loan will not need to be repaid for the first 2 years once it goes into effect as homes are being built, correct?
Yes, so it's really part of the loan agreement. You send them what you'd like it to be. It's just interest accrues over that time, but
Correct.
no payments for the first couple of years. However, we'd like to spell it out to South Dakota Housing. So right now it's 2 years, yes.
Okay. And then essentially once people start to build and then they can start paying property tax, that goes to the county, but in a separate fund that then goes to the city to pay as a separate fund to start paying this back, correct?
Yes, that would just go to it would be a TIF fund, essentially. So,
Which is why we're obviously incentivized to get people building sooner than later so we can start getting those payments as soon as possible.
right.
In 2 years, you get that, whatever you did was gonna be back. So the property doesn't cost you anything,
The land isn't.
just the house.
All right.
One other question for you. So obviously with that, the affordable housing TIF and having that $410,000 kind of cap, does that also include a duplex style, or would that be, I guess that's probably my question there, is if that's a potential something that someone wanted to build, would that cap still apply?
So it's like, so at the end of the day, there's no TIF police. you, as the city, are the TIF police, and at the end of the way we look at it is per door is kind of a 410 basis. So, if you have a townhome and there's, there's a couple doors, 2 living places in there, that's 410 a piece.
Sure.
Okay,
So as long as it's for sale, so if you buy one and I buy the other, we can both pay 410.
Oh, okay. Yep, that makes sense. So that doesn't necessarily make it so we couldn't do, that cap would make it so we couldn't do a duplex style, or someone couldn't do a duplex style. Okay.
Right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there guidelines to prevent a developer coming in or a single individual who has a lot of money coming in and buying all of them and then putting up rentals, building or stick houses or manufactured homes and being a landlord and renting them all out?
No.
I don't want to see that, but is there safeguards so that doesn't happen? Is it?
The only way you can do that is to place covenants that it has to be owner occupied housing.
And would that have to be placed in our zoning laws
No, it's
or?
not a zoning
No?
issue, it would
Okay.
be something that would be tied to the deed of the property, that
Right.
it can only be developed as owner occupied. So I could put a 2-family dwelling or a 4-plex there, but each unit would have to be occupied by the owner.
Right,
So owner
okay.
occupied is the key phrase there.
Yeah.
Oh, good, I like it.
right, but
But we don't have that at this point.
yeah, no,
No.
and I'm just thinking like a duplex, let's say, if I built a duplex and I lived in half, I can't live in both sides,
Right.
so
You're saying
But
you
you
might
can
want to
tell
buy the
somebody else
duplex
to
and
own
rent
the
out the
other
other
half.
they
half?
could own the other half,
A lot of places do that.
yeah,
As a condo.
But you
Yeah.
have to live in it in order to keep the integrity. Or you
If-
end up
Or at
renting
least
out
a
one
half of it.
house.
right, well, I'm saying, but if I lived in one half and wanted to rent out the other half, like, I plan to,
I don't think that would work within the covenant, wouldn't it?
If
If you're looking at putting restrictions on the type of housing and you want it to be not rental housing, you would have to specify that it's owner occupied,
right,
all dwelling units.
yeah,
It's an R1, so it should be.
R1 is,
just residential.
yeah.
Could be
I think in your
duplexes.
R1 district, you do allow duplexes.
Yeah, they
right
do.
now. So whether they're owner occupied or rental.
Yeah.
That's your difference.
Works either way on R1.
Yeah.
And we do have a developer that's from DeSmit, and he's bought several houses here recently, and he has them as rentals. And he asked me if the new area will get to have duplexes, because like he would build the duplex and he would rent both sides out.
So then it becomes,
Kind of the situation you were talking about.
Yeah,
Not that it's bad, it's just,
right, there are some people who need to rent before they can afford to buy, and they still buy groceries, they still get gas.
Sure.
and there's, you know,
And their kids still go
and
to
there's people
school.
that are gonna wanna buy the whole duplex and rent out half of it to kind of pay their.
Yeah.
And all these are just details that can be worked out, I think.
So quick, I'm sorry, it's none of my business, well, it kind of is, I'm working
Sure.
on,
Sure.
I'm working on a zoning ordinance and land use plan for the city here. And so that's part of the reason I'm here, so I have an understanding of what they're proposing. So 8 individual houses at $400,000 based upon tax income on the increment will cover the cost over 16 to 18 years to pay off the debt incurred. Is that what we projected? Or do we need duplexes to make it work?
We have it as, instead of the 410, we have to be conservative and realistic. 410, that might be a monster home. So what we do is we scale it back a notch and we say, okay, the first 2 homes, 350. The next 2 homes, 360, 370, 380 from there. I mean, if everyone said, okay, there's a guarantee we're gonna get $400,000 houses on there, I would absolutely put that in there. But mean, just to be realistic, I mean, that's what we do. We try to be conservative, so kind of live up to your expectations a little bit, just in case, something might happen where there is a house on there that's 280, 250. So the TIF revenue is really subject to what's built on there. But as we sit here with the 8 homes from 350 to 380, it's 648,000, and that might be high, it might be low. It's housing development, it ebbs and flows, you don't know what's gonna go on it, so, to answer your question, I guess it might cover, the loan amount from South Dakota Housing, and that's, but probably not if the development costs $800,000, it's obviously not gonna be sufficient, so.
Follow-up question, Mr. Madam Chair.
Yes.
If I can ask. What have been the comps in the area regarding home sales to generate the ability to borrow up to $350,000 on a home? I mean, if I'm a first-time homeowner, but I don't meet the requirements to qualify for the program, and I have to go conventional borrowing, and I want to borrow, I got 20% down on a $400,000 house, I still got to borrow $320,000. Can I get comps in this community at 320 to justify the bank lending me money?
Right. Honestly, I think the 400,000 could be a little bit tougher. However, we have a house.
You understand what I meant?
I do.
Right?
One of our, I think we've got about 4 houses for sale in town, and one is currently listed at 385,000. So not knowing what it will sell for, but in theory, that would be a very good comp.
It's just, my experience has been, we always want to make sure that if we're proposing a development, that people can turn on and get the financing to make it work. And that's, sometimes I've been in places where they've estimated, oh yeah, well, we can be able to sell 360, but Jesus, there hasn't been a house sold for over 200,000 in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think all of our homes down in that southeast development were well over 200,000.
Good.
I couldn't throw out prices for sure right now.
Closer to 3.
And that's what you need, that's all I was curious
Yeah.
about, just so if you're not thinking about.
And it's a good point.
It's private finance.
So, can you come in and put like a house on there?
A what?
Currently,
Sure.
we're not currently we don't have that in our ordinances, so.
Okay, good, good. Cause I'm like, they built something like that, they can use it for storage and, the community's still not benefiting from it.
The current ordinance doesn't allow for shelters in the West.
Good.
It's something we're gonna talk about, but whether or not,
Wow.
currently they don't.
We don't need more hunter, you know what I'm saying? There's enough of that here. We need people who are actually gonna come into the community and wanna be here and,
Build a real house?
yes, exactly.
Yeah, whether it's whether they build a house or a house, that's not going to be 100 because they're not going to spend $400,000 on a house that they use 1 weekend a year or a month,
I don't know,
I think
'cause
they're gonna look for the
I
cheap
had
houses in
someone
town.
ask about it, like they think it'd be the perfect spot to put a big building like that, but they wouldn't be their permanent residence.
Yes, Todd.
I can tell you one of the things that we're talking about with the planning commission and the city council regarding the zoning regulations. We just started our first conversation a couple weeks ago, we're having another one here in a couple of weeks. But when we talk about houses, barn dominiums, whatever you want to call them, shop style dwellings, what we're seeing that those communities that are allowing them are putting in specific requirements. And one of the specific requirements many communities are doing when it comes to a shop house is one, it's not a rental unit. 2, if I'm there, I have to live in that facility for at least 6 months out of the year.
Okay.
And it's a primary residence, so.
Right.
So that, and again, I'm not saying that's what the rules are gonna
Right.
be here, but we do have that conversation.
Right, which would kind of protect what
Yeah,
you're mentioning.
yeah.
That's a reasonable.
I do know there was a few folks that were interested in building houses that would live there full time. I think, that approached about that land to build on last year. And so it is, there were a few younger families that were interested in the house concept, but as primary residences. And so that's good to know that at least some of the communities that are allowing it are still putting those guidelines, so to make sure, yeah, they're not just being rented out and by hunters and things like that. So that's good to know that maybe there's some flexibility there on kind of a happy medium to make sure that that's still primary residence.
One note, the TIF is based on the assessed valuation of a home. And you might sell a house for 400, but it's really assessed at 350. That we see that gap closing a little bit more anymore, but that is just kind of the factor at hand. It's not necessarily the sales price, it's the assessed value. So just keep that in mind as well.
That's a good note.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Quinn. We greatly appreciate your clarifications. I think that will help us as we continue to discuss as a council. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let us know if you have any questions. There's any questions that come up. Toby and I, you got our emails, phone calls, so just let us know.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
All righty, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Will there be an actual alley through that then, or the blocks will just butt right up to each other? So there's no driving there?
There'll be an easement, but there won't be an alley.
Yeah. And no need to go into executive because we don't have a council lane. Yeah.
Well, thank you to everyone from the city that is here tonight, that took the time to be here, and
Back at you.
appreciate you guys.
Oh, look, we have 0 watchers.
Have more.
If you
Know one thing.
If there's
Yep.
anyone on the